Actually really starts, so it's always a best guess. Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ and Friends. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and I have a big announcement today. Starting today, almost every Thursday, we are having a brand new, not monthly like the others, weekly show with one of our favorites here on Chef AJ YouTube channel, Dr. Matt Letterman. The show is going to be called Keeping It Real to Heal, and we really want some audience participation in this one. So if you'd like to be on the show and work some of your issues, especially with connection and relationships, or maybe even weight loss with Dr. Matt, give us a shout out. Write us at help@chefaj.com and we will get you on the show. But you got to be willing to appear. Of course, we can answer questions anyway, but we'd love to be able to show you what this work is interactively, and it's not just me. But before we get to the topic of today, what I want to tell you about is the 21-day Jumpstart program, which starts next week. So, it's one thing to know what to eat, but knowing is not always enough. And if you've ever wondered why you're having cravings or emotional eating keeps showing up, today's conversation is for you. And I'm really excited to be joined by Dr. Matthew Letterman. He's a board certified physician. He's been featured in the groundbreaking documentary Forks Over Knives. And Dr. Matt really helps people understand that food is rarely the real problem and that lasting change comes from awareness and connection, not willpower or diets. And this is the perfect time of year that a lot of people are really rubbing up to lose weight and get healthier. The thing that's so cool is Dr. Matt is one of the experts inside the 21-day Jumpstart program, which will help you turn your insights into actual habits that stick. So if you're tired of starting over, especially if you've been yo-yo dieting for years, this might be a great experience for you. So thanks so much for being here, Dr. Matt, and congratulations on getting your own show. And thanks for being in the Jumpstart.
Oh, thanks for having me, AJ. I really appreciate all of your support and encouragement, and I love that you resonate with this work and this material.
I do, and I'm trying to get other people to see its value, and we're going to talk a lot about that today. And I think because it's not as tangible as calorie density, for example, like, if people are just like don't know how to do it, or they don't really see the value. But we're going to talk about that today, how it's really valuable, not just in relationships, but especially for weight loss. So I want to ask you, so many people struggle with food and they think the struggle is just about willpower. But I know with all the patients that you've seen clinically, what's really going on beneath the surface?
Yeah, when people fall off the wagon or they eat something that they don't want to eat or they think is unhealthy for them, but they do it anyway, it's not a lack of understanding about calorie density or a lack of information that if they just had that information or some biohack or they fasted, did it intermittent fasting or something, or they didn't mix this fruit with that fruit in their smoothie. That's not what's going to stop them from falling off the wagon. There's some impulse inside of you that makes you just decide to go after that food that you don't want to eat, but for some reason you can't stop yourself. That's this work around connection, around nervous system regulation, and all of the tools that we provide to enhance nervous system regulation, which is basically calming the body and changing the frequency and the intensity of those impulses that drive you to do something that you don't want to do. So whether you're passing a fast food restaurant and for some reason that one night you veer off and go into the restaurant, that's not about more information. That's not about more hacks. That's about your system is dysregulated in a way, and we got to work on getting it back into that safety, that calm. So that's what I think is really valuable, AJ, is to understand that it's a daily practice of tending to your nervous system. And when you tend to that nervous system, and there's ways that you can do that, I'll show that. I have a little diagram I'm going to actually show that over time, you start responding differently. So you might have less impulses. The impulses might be less intense. The duration of the impulse will be less. And your ability to identify them and separate from them versus just act on it. And willpower is basically if you're lucky enough to say, I want that chocolate cake, but how do I stop myself from having the chocolate cake? We'll work with patients and we'll say, they'll come and be excited that they stop themselves from having the chocolate cake. And if they just used willpower, I'll basically say that's not success. If you're using willpower to avoid it, I'm more concerned because I know that's not going to last long term. So how do we increase the ability to navigate these impulses and to shift the way these impulses show up in our body? I'm going to show this little chart here. Let's see, can you see that?
Yes.
So this is a little diagram that we created. This is in our book, Wellness to Wonderful. And the 9 pillars here are really important. And the things that we're going to do on the show are going to contribute or help these pillars in one way or another over time. And it's like meditation. I don't know if anybody's ever done meditation, but you don't meditate once or even lift weights once, and all of a sudden you feel something shifted. It takes days and weeks and months of time, and then over time you start getting stronger, you start getting more mindful. And it's the same thing with these impulses that are knocking people and they're falling off the wagon. So if you think about this as a marathon, not a sprint, or don't expect doing these things, these exercises, all of a sudden tomorrow it's going to be everything's going to click and fall into place. That's not the way it works. But if you see here, there's self, sleep, nutrition, activity, and play. So self is connection to what's going on inside of you. What are you feeling in your heart? How are you feeling? Are you feeling jittery and uncomfortable? Are you feeling calm and restless? Are your shoulders like this and your neck and you're tense? Are you speaking fast because you're mobilized? Or are you calm, relaxed, breathing slowly? Uh, That's important to know what's going on inside of you. If you're feeling like you're at the end of your rope, but you push yourself further, that's if you do that, that will increase the chances that you fall off the wagon. You want to be aware of when that happens. Sleep, nutrition, activity, and play are ways that you connect to your internal world and and fortify and um, sort of power your internal system. So your nervous system needs sleep. Your nervous system needs the right nutrition. It needs the activity, and it needs play. And without those four, your nervous system is going to start to dysregulate. It's not going to be functioning optimally. And then the other four are connection. So connection to your family and friends. Work is connection to meaning and purpose. What how you want to contribute to this world. And then there's spirituality, connecting to something bigger than yourself, and natural world connection to all life on this planet. So these 9 pillars are essential. How do I stop sharing here? Hold on a second. There we go. Stop sharing.
Perfect.
So so these pillars are important to tend to. Now, the stuff that I'm going to talk about today, the connection work, is something that's going to help fortify these pillars. I'm going to teach something that we call the gift, and it's really changed how we show up. But if the gift is basically how do I create an environment at home or in whatever relationship I'm in so that I can share my unmet needs in a way that the other person sees them as a gift. And if the other person sees them as a gift, then I don't have to suppress them. And when I suppress them because I'm worried about their reaction, that is going to increase danger in your nervous system. It's going to increase the fact that it's going to increase your mobilization. It's going to make you feel jittery. It's going to increase the chances that you use food to regulate your nervous system. So when you're feeling jittery and uncomfortable, and we call it mobilized, the light food is one way to try and regulate the nervous system. It does calm, and there's pathways that works, but there's also other ways to do it. So if we start employing these things, the gift is one, which I love. You're going to find that as you build these relationship connection tools into your relationships, over time you're going to have less of these impulses. So I don't know if that, AJ, is enough of a summary, but the connection work is upstream and decreases these impulses. Do you find, AJ, that when you're more mobilized, when you're more, whether it's nervous or anxious, or that you're more likely to act or do things that you maybe you wish you wouldn't do, whether it's snapping at someone else
Oh my
or
gosh.
yeah. Go
That
ahead.
we this has been I'm in a few text groups about different topics, and boy, when there's stuff going on in the world which I don't pay a lot of attention to, but boy, yes, I definitely snap at people when I'm more stressed.
Yeah. So for you, what is your um, the wagon that you're trying to stay on? It doesn't sound like food and cravings really affect
Serenity, the
you. Serenity.
serenity. I would like
Right.
to be on the peace, calm, and serenity
Right.
wagon.
Yeah. So when you take care of your nervous system, whether it's breathing or meditation or improv or play or exercise, do you find that it's easier to feel those peaceful feelings?
Absolutely. That's why I am addicted to improv.
Yeah. Yeah. So that inner peace is essential, and people treat the lack of inner peace, which we could call mobilization, the lack of inner peace, they start to treat that, whether it's with food, or they might be reactive, or they might express frustration in ways that are not very kind and caring, but it can come out in all sorts of ways. That makes sense?
Yep. Absolutely. You mentioned wagon, and I'm wondering why do so many people they can do well for a few days, a few weeks, and then boom, back into old eating patterns.
Back into old eating patterns because there's some need of theirs that's not being met by the way that they're setting up their life in those moments. So it it's it's different for different people. For example, if I am using willpower to eat these foods, but I'm thinking to myself how much better these other foods taste, then I didn't do a good enough job making the food that I'm eating taste really delicious. That's possible. If I am um, hating my job and I just am miserable going to my job. And for 8 hours a day, I'm just so unhappy and being told things that I have to do and I don't want to do them. Then when I come home, the last thing I'm going to want to do is force myself to do one more thing or have to use a lot of energy to think about what I'm going to eat or what I'm going to do. So if I make the food taste really good and I make it very easy to cook, then if I have a bad day at work or I hate my job, I'm less likely to default to something that's easy and super stimulating. For some people, the best part of their day is the food that they eat at dinner. That's the most joy, or some people it's the only joy they get. So if I take away their food by making them eat something that they did not make taste really delicious, but they think it's healthy, that's not going to last because their need for that is two issues. Stimulation from the food. I know, AJ, that you like the food that you eat.
Yeah.
If you didn't enjoy it, we would say you're not going to stay on this program. Period. So there's people that are trying to convince themselves they enjoy the food they're eating. If they're not, it's very important that they tell me so that we can either fix the food or do some other work. If people are hating their job, though, we also want to address that so that the best part of their day is not just their dinner. If people are disconnected and lonely, they're going to come home and say, okay, well, I not only I may like my job, but I come home and I'm really lonely. And I don't want to deal with the fact that I'm lonely, and I don't know what to do with the fact that I'm lonely. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to feel good by eating. If all of a sudden I'm at home and I'm really connected and I'm really enjoying that and having fun, and all of a sudden the food doesn't hold the same power over me. So I think people focus on the food, the behavior they're trying to extinguish. But what I'm saying is you got to focus on the other stuff. And if you get the other stuff to fall into place, then the behavior naturally changes. It's sort of like a kid. It's sort of like a kid that's got a behavior issue and they can't calm themselves down. And we keep focusing on trying to get the kid to be calm and to change their behavior. But if you help them regulate their nervous system, calm behavior comes out automatically. So don't focus on the behavior downstream, focus on the body upstream, and then the behaviors will naturally follow. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I hear Dr. Lau saying focus on the process, not the outcome.
Yeah, I like that. Focus on the product. He has, I like his little sayings and buzzwords and stuff.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, I love what you're saying. So many people just beat themselves up when they fall off the wagon. They don't realize it's not that there's anything wrong with them. They just don't have maybe enough time or support for the change to settle in, and they're not using some of the techniques that you teach. They're just using the diet mindset.
Yes, and they're focused externally. What am I supposed to eat to be good? And if I don't eat that, I'm bad. And I got to just get myself to eat that food. And that's all that matters. And what I'm saying is there's actually a way to not, I don't think you do this. I know I don't. I'm not eating what I think is going to make me be good. I'm eating what I think is going to taste delicious that I learned to make within these parameters. So if people are truly enjoying the food, like I have patients tell me they're eating steamed kale and they're like, I just love that steamed kale. And I'm like, I'm sure people can eat steamed kale, but I wouldn't say that by itself, but if some that by itself, and then they go and they have like Chick-fil-A when they fall off the wagon. And I'll say to myself, well, there was something in that Chick-fil-A that was meeting some type of needs for you that the steamed kale alone wasn't. And there's other things that are going on too, AJ. But I would say if you're falling off the wagon, then make the food too delicious. If you can say, yeah, steamed kale's good and raw carrots are great, is there a way to make it even more flavorful that's still within the parameters? And err on the side of being like, my God, this is so flavorful that I don't even think I need to eat it this way. Now, I'm not saying you got to, get the calorie density up super high, but there's things you can do that are beyond steamed kale. What would you say to somebody, AJ, that says, I'm happy? I've had these patients too, where they're like, I'll just eat carrot sticks and lettuce for a week and I lost all this weight and I'm so happy. And I'm like, oh boy, we're in trouble here.
Well, yeah, because you can only going that low calorie density without the starch, I don't think they're going to be satisfied for long. And I think that's the thing is people want the results quicker, which they can get
Yes.
that way, but they're not going to last. That's what I've seen.
Yes. They're going to pay for it. It's too costly. And they're excited at first. And that excitement is very fueling because they're just seeing the scale move and they've been so disheartened because the scale's moving the way they don't want it to. And now it's moving the way they do want. But if they're thinking about this long term, it's really going to get them into trouble. So I just wish people would allow them. I mean, some people are afraid to eat a potato,
Oh, yeah.
and I would say, I mean, my diet, how much? I mean, there's a good amount of fruit. I mean, it's a lot of starch, and I mean, what percentage of your diet is starch, would you say?
Oh, much more now. I mean, when I was losing weight, it was probably, well, I would say 75% starch, 25%. I'm guessing. I don't know, but
Yeah,
does that sound about right?
yeah, yeah. And I mean, if somebody just loved potatoes and they just ate potatoes all day to lose weight, I'm not saying that's what they need to do. They can't have vegetables, but they would think that they were bad, a lot of people. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, gosh, if you ate potatoes all day, you're doing fantastic, you know? So I think people put these rules on themselves and then they're like pushing themselves to the extreme. Well, if I could do this, then maybe I could do that. And then if I could so they're trying to well, the kale is good with the avocado, but maybe I should do the kale without the avocado and just steam it. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, well, I don't know, AJ. I think sometimes you got to let them also make their mistakes. I think we can, it's like talking, to some people and trying to prevent them. But as long as they stick with it, we can make a shift here. As long as they stick with it, we can tune that up a little bit. Um, anyway, AJ, I would like to show people the gift. And I
Okay.
think what's cool about the gift is, again, I was a little nervous with the audience, AJ. You have to tell me what you think here. People will be like, why are we talking about this topic? And the show is usually about a lot of food and weight loss and things like that. If you were help me, I've talked to you about this before. Help me put into words what your understanding is about why doing something like the gift, which I've talked to you in the past about, would is important, even if you're coming to this show around weight loss.
Well, because why is it important? It just makes it easier to be in a relationship, and we are in relationships, whether it's our boss or our neighbor or our family, um, where there could be potential conflict without it escalating to bad feelings.
No. And when it escalates and you have bad feelings, that's when people can start doing things that are self-sabotaging behaviors.
Yes.
So, so the gift, so everybody who can try this at home, this is something that really changed in our family. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And my kids think I'm nuts, uh, but at the same time, they love it. And it's really increased connection with my kids and my wife. And she gives me gifts, and I'll give her gifts. I'll give the kids gifts. And the gift came from, there's actually a handout that if people go to there's a PDF of the gift if people want it, and it's if they go to connectiondocs.com/resources. I put it there so people can get it. We can put that link in later. But the gift is basically coming from the idea of nonviolent communication, where unmet needs should be heard as a gift. You're basically telling somebody, "Hey, I have an amazing gift for you. There's something that you're doing that isn't meeting my needs. But if you do this instead, it would really meet my needs." And you're letting that person know. And I remember thinking how hard it was to think, oh, what do you mean that's a gift? And he would say, think of it like before you say your gift, think of it like your Santa Claus coming with presents. And you're like, ho, 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 boy, do I have a gift for you. And if you're Jewish, I'm not sure what we would say, but everybody can.
We'd say, oi, oi, oi.
Oi, 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 oi. Do I have a gift for you? So, so the first thing you do is I want to create an environment where my kids and my wife and the people that I love tell me when I'm doing something that they don't like. And the way to do that is not by telling them it's okay to tell me that stuff. It's by how I show up. So the first step of the gift is um, is to check in and just say, do I have capacity to receive this? So, for example, actually, maybe let me do this. Let me give you an example of the gift, and then I'll break down the steps. So, when my daughter actually just Jordan gave me a gift 2 nights ago, and she said, "Dad, I have a gift for you." And I said, "Oh my God, it's been so long since I got a gift. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Hit me with the gift. This is fantastic. It's the best part of my night." And she looks at me like, whenever I get that excited, she looks a little at me like I'm a little crazy. And she goes, "Dad, you know, when I was asking you about this math problem and you said, are you kidding or are you serious? Is this something you don't know or are you just joking with me?" And she said, when you said that, Dad, I felt really dumb because I was trying really hard and I thought that you thought I should know how to do that. And I said, oh my goodness, it sounds like you were feeling like maybe hurt when somebody who's supposed to love you and care about you is potentially criticizing or thinking that you did something, you should know something, or maybe you're even thinking that I think you're stupid or something like that. And she said, yeah, Dad, I thought that you thought I should know that, and I'm not very smart, and then I thought I was stupid. And I said, "Oh gosh, that must be feel so sad and disappointing. And you must feel hurt too, that someone that's supposed to be supportive, like your dad, is encouraging, is saying something that instead might be received as that you're stupid." She said, "Yeah, Dad, I wouldn't expect that from you." And I said, "Oh, thank you so much. Is there more?" And she said, "No, Dad, that's it. That's everything." And I said, "Do you want to hear my reaction?" She said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, first off, I am so glad that you told me. This makes my day. I love your gifts. These are fantastic." And she smiles like she actually feels proud of herself. Like, oh, I just gave him a gift. I'm so happy. Good. And I said, and then my other part of my reaction is I feel regret because I never want to say something that would even, if there's even a chance that it stimulates thoughts that you're stupid. And I totally get it. And I really wish I did that differently, knowing what I know right now. And she said, "Thanks, Dad." And I said, "Do you want to hear where it was coming from?" And it was coming from was, and she said, "Yes." And I said, what was coming from was I thought you were kidding. And I wasn't sure if you really, and I could see how that would land the way it did, Jordan. But I didn't realize that at the time. So thank you so much. And she said, no problem, Dad. And she really felt like she gave me a present. And it's all about how you receive it. And when they were young, when we started the gift, every night I would ask them when I would tuck them in for bed, do you have any gifts for me? And I'm like, I know you have gifts. You must have gifts. There must be something I did. And they'll be like, oh, I can't. And then all of a sudden, I'll be like, what about when I snapped earlier? And they'll be, oh, yeah, Dad, that's right. I do have a gift for you. And then they would tell me their gift. So part of it is creating this culture in the family that is this gift culture. So imagine AJ, if every time that you had an unmet need and you said, Matt or Charles or whoever, I have a gift for you. I didn't really like when da 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 happened. And they were like, oh my God, thank you so much. That's fantastic, AJ. I love that you told me that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please tell me again anytime you have a gift. I can't wait. How would you feel?
I don't know. I mean, I might think it's a trick at first, you know?
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. At first, it might be hard to believe. And in our family, I mean, they were young when we started, so they probably didn't think it was a trick, but I could definitely see that happening. And now Alona will say, Matt, I have a gift for you. And I'll be like, oof, I don't know if I can take a gift right now. So can I come back later? Because I know that I'm getting defensive about something potentially, and I don't want to do that because that jeopardizes her safety in telling me. And remember, everything that we're doing with this is to create safety in the nervous system, for the nervous system to feel calm and regulated. So I want her to always be received in that way. So later, when she gives me a gift, I know that this is something she's nervous to talk about, and and she would normally suppress it, and she normally wouldn't tell me. So if it's very important for me that she's honest with me, then what determines her honesty is my reaction to it. What determines her honesty is my reaction to it. So I think the people will sometimes say, and my kids ask me this, like, Dad, why do you get so excited when I tell you a gift? I'm telling you something I don't like. And I'll say, well, it really one means to me that this relationship matters. Like this relationship must matter so much that you don't want to just let that go or try and sweep it under the rug. And two, it teaches me how you like to be loved so that I can love you even better. Why wouldn't that be a gift? That means that my relationship with you really matters to you, and you're telling me how I can love you even better. And they'll say, okay, great, Dad. So can you imagine, AJ, how this creates a sense of safety in their nervous system to create a culture like this?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
That's amazing to
yeah,
start that young, especially.
yeah. And that's what I think people can start anytime. So that's what the handout has, which is all of the steps. I can even I'll show it here just so people can see it. Let's see. All right. So I think this is helpful. And what's nice about the gift is there's I broke it down into steps. So again, the first step is to just ask, are you going to be able to receive this with that Santa Claus energy? And if you can receive this with Santa Claus energy, you're ready to move forward. But if you're not, you say, hey, thanks so much. I'm really excited and I'm noticing that my mind or energy is not where it needs to be right now. Can we do this after dinner? Can we do this tomorrow? Because I want to be able to take in and appreciate your gift fully. So the first thing is check in before receiving a gift. The second is to express your enthusiasm and don't hold back on this. I'm so excited. I really can't wait to get your gift because you're about to tell me how I can love you even better. That's wonderful. And you're about to tell me something that you would typically hide from me because you're scared about my reaction, but you care about our relationship so much that you're not going to be scared or you're going to trust me enough to try and tell me this. That's fantastic. So I don't think we're lying or pretending when you really connect to the needs of yours that are met when they come to you with this gift. The third is a heart hug, which we listen with a heart hug. This is important. When people tell you something that you did that they don't like, your instinct is going to be to explain yourself. That's making it about you. You want to stay with them. You want to stay with their pain and name it and make them get a sense that you really get what their pain is and even flesh that out a little bit if you want. So that's a heart hug that's our term in our family for empathy. We explain that when you get a heart hug, when someone gives you a heart hug, it feels like your heart is getting a hug, and empathy is what gives you that feeling. When someone is with you and with whatever's going on in your heart, it feels like it's a hug there. So for example, when Kylie came to me, because she was funny, she heard Jordan give me a gift, so she wanted to do it too. So she said, Dad, when you were walking up the steps, and she goes, Dad, I have a gift for you too. And I got excited. And she said, Dad, when you were walking up the steps and I was pulling on your hand to go with you and you pulled away, I felt really, I think she said hurt and sad. And I said, and she said, that wasn't very nice. And I said, oh, and I got excited again. And then I gave her a heart hug. And the heart hug is if you're not sure what to do, you can just say back what you're hearing. You can just do a reflection. So, Kylie, when I pulled your hand away, or when I pulled away from your hand, you felt sad and hurt and didn't think that didn't meet your need for kindness. So do you see how I'm not getting stuck in when she said I wasn't very nice? I just make it about her needs. It didn't meet her need for kindness. So that's also important is don't take in their judgments if you can. Make it about their needs. So then she said, yeah. So then what's important with the heart hug is you go deeper if you can. So you say, oh boy, I bet that when your dad pulls away and you wanted to connect with him, you probably felt really not, sad and hurt, and maybe you were even surprised. Like, why is dad not excited to hold my hand and go up the steps? So even though AJ, it might make me, people could say, oh, I'm going to look bad, or I'm going to be talking, bad about myself. I'm going to feel more shame. You want to try and hold that back and put that on the table. We can deal with that later. The more I can deal with her pain, the more it's going to be healing to her and more connecting to her. And the more it's going to stimulate safety in her nervous system. So that's where I can say, yeah, I get it. Your dad, the last thing you would expect is for dad to pull away when you're walking up the steps with him. And when you're holding his hand and he pulls his hand away. And is there more? It says, yeah, dad, I just felt sad. So even though she told me she felt sad, I stayed with it and there was more sadness that she wanted me to hear. So again, stay with the sadness. And I'll say, did I get it or is there more? And she'll say, no, you got everything. So the next thing is to express my reaction. And I'll say, hey, I just really appreciate that. Would you like to hear my reaction? And then it's similar. It's first, this is when I talk about myself after I've heard her pain. So step 4 is now I shift from her back to me and I say, hey, would you like to hear my reaction? My reaction is I feel regret. I really wish I didn't do that, knowing what I know now and how that was for you. I wish I handled it differently. And I can see how your needs for care and understanding and love and support, and from your dad and what you would expect from your dad wasn't met. And I really wish I did that. So again, I'm staying with it. And then I'd say, if knowing what I know now, I probably would have told you, Kylie, you're pulling on my hand and I'm trying to get up the stairs and it's pulling me back. And I would rather just walk up the steps without being pulled back. But it's not that I don't want to hold your hand. Or can you walk next to me? So she said, yeah, if you said that, that would have felt good. I say, you know what? That's what I wish I said. And I really have regret that I didn't say it that way. And I just pulled away and went up the steps quickly. She's like, thanks, Dad. And then step 5, if you want, this is where you can explain yourself. And you can say, you know what, Kylie, the reason I pulled my hand was I was rushing and I wanted to get upstairs. And when you were pulling back, I didn't really want to be pulled. It was a little bit sticky and hard. And I'm trying to get upstairs and move some things along. And I wish I did it differently, but that's why I did it. Does that make sense? And she'll say yes. So that step 5 is to see my good intentions behind what I did, even if it stimulated pain for her. So what's helpful for people to do is to practice these steps with someone they care about. You might not do this with the person at the checkout line, obviously, but if you have important relationships, you can tell them that, hey, this is something I'd like to do. If you're willing to do it with me, and this is why. So making it a daily practice. I like with kids especially, because they're not going to think about this at first. I like to mine, I call it mining for gifts. I did it before bed. And I would say, there's got to be something I did today that you could give me a gift because I love your gifts. And they would think and think and think and be like, oh, I remember once, Dad, and they'll think of something and they'll tell me. And then I might also lead by example. I might tell them, you know what? I think when I'm going to give myself a gift on your behalf. Remember when I had that tone after dinner, and I wish I didn't have that tone. It's not a kind tone. And they'll say, oh, that's true, Dad. And that's when they'll connect. So I can give myself a gift too. And then I encourage others. I'll say, Alona, do you have a gift? Maybe Jordan sometimes will tell me something that upset her about mom. I'll say, oh, mom loves gifts too. Why don't you give mom a gift? She'd probably be so excited to get your gift. And she'll go down and say, Mom, I have a gift. So it's again creating this gift culture in the family really regulates the nervous system. And when nervous systems are regulated, whether it's mom, dad, the kids, our bodies shift physiologically, and that also will shift how we show up, not only in the relationships, but around food or other habits. So that safety is what we're always trying to create, that sense of safety where our nervous system can relax and feel that peace that you're talking about, AJ. So improv is one way, but this practice of gifts is another. And it allows stuff that people would typically suppress to come out. And I always hear from parents, why my kids don't talk to me that much, or my kids don't tell me stuff. And there's always an opportunity for the parents to show up differently. I'm not blaming the parents. I'm saying there's a way that we can show up that makes it more likely the kids will share with us. So I want people to remember that receiving the gift is not about being wrong. If you think you're about to be told you did something wrong, we want to spend some time shifting that energy. It's about honoring the trust and love behind someone's willingness to share with you. And it's really a beautiful thing when someone trusts you enough to share. And when we can embrace our gifts fully, we really can deepen connection. These small ruptures don't turn into big distances and disconnection, and we create this culture of mutual care and openness. So, AJ,
Well,
what are your thoughts on the gift?
I would just want to ask you a question about the heart hug. You don't actually hug them with your heart, do you?
Right. No,
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but the heart hug was when I was trying to explain to Kylie when she was little what empathy was. And I said, what you do for a heart hug is you tell them back what they're hearing, what you're hearing as far as what they're feeling and needing. So when they were little, they didn't know a lot of needs. They didn't have the needs vocabulary. So everything was consideration. No matter what it was, they would say, you're feeling angry because you're needing consideration. That's what I'm hearing. Or Dad, you're feeling sad because you need consideration. And I'd say, thank you so much for the heart hug. So it's basic. And then eventually now they just can say what they imagine I'm feeling, and it feels really wonderful. So that's what we call it. But they'll do that too. They'll say, Dad, I want to tell you something, and I just need a heart hug back, nothing else. That means they don't want advice or anything else, which makes it easy to know what to do.
Mm. How do you deliver this without the other person feeling attacked? Because some people I know are real sensitive to any kind of criticism.
If you don't have an agreement with them that you're going to do the gift, then this isn't going to land well. So I would start with Charles and work your way out from there, but practice with Charles. So you can say, Charles, I have a gift. And then, do you have space to hear it? And then Charles is going to be like, oh God, what did I do now? So then we have to work with those thoughts, his inner critic that's going to be like, I'm going to get some criticism. And we say, no, Charles, what's happening now is AJ wants to tell you something that she was nervous to tell you before. And she wants it to try and land in a more connected way. So if you can get excited, that will help, or at least be open to it. That will help AJ feel more comfortable. And Charles, you never do anything wrong. That's what I want Charles to, well, I'm using Charles as an example. I want Charles to know that he's never does anything wrong. He just does something that doesn't meet a need of yours. And he wants to care about that, not because he should feel ashamed or guilty or that he needs to change, but that he just cares about the impact on you. So
I
what do
will,
you think? Could you do it with
I will,
Charles? Are we going to make it a commitment
well,
here with?
he's not home right now, but I will give it a try. He is very sensitive to criticism though in general, but maybe that's because I haven't delivered it in the proper way.
Yeah, it's almost always your fault, AJ.
Yeah, of
No, I'm kidding.
course.
I'm just kidding. No, no, I think that we all we all deliver in the way that we were brought up delivering feedback. So you can even say that. You can even say that. hey, I'm not sure how this is, but help me say this in a way that's going to feel better to you, Charles, because I want to, even if I don't know how to.
Yeah. Oh boy. Jerry, who's watching live, says she's an orphan. Will you adopt her?
Oh, that's very sweet. But that to me, you know what that tells me is that Jerry's heart is just really softening into the tenderness of the intention of this practice, which is what happens to everybody. It's now some people might be listening and be like, that's silly or that's stupid. And that's just a guarded heart that doesn't want to open up. Because who would think that caring about someone else's feelings and needs is stupid? But it might be unfamiliar. It might be language that's not habitual for them. But I really believe this is the natural way humans, were designed to interact with each other. We just lost connection to our way.
Wow. Well, I wish you could be there sometimes in the midst of chaos when things are happening,
Yeah.
like, with people or, on text threads to diffuse it. Because I always think, like, what would Dr. Matt do, Because it's hard sometimes. Like, I'm generally not the instigator, but once somebody else does it, I'm like uh, you know,
Jump in.
I'm like, I'll jump in. We had this horrible thing on a text thread of a group of us that are friends from LA, and we see things politically differently. And it was 6 and 3, and I was in the group and it was just like it couldn't have gone worse,
Yeah.
with the things
Yeah.
we were saying. And finally, we kind of had separated, like kind of like in the Civil War, the North and the South. I mean, I know things could have been done differently, but when you get in the heat of the
Yeah.
moment and the stress, it's just so easy to just, if you're feeling attacked, to attack back. And
Yeah.
it's
Oh, yeah.
so hard to do nothing sometimes.
Well, that's a good point because when you're upset, your need is almost always empathy. But you're trying to get it from people, especially if it's the person that you're upset with. You're often trying to get it from someone that's not able to give you empathy because they're needing empathy too. It's called an empathy collision. And on top of that, the way you're trying to get empathy is often a tragic strategy. So when you're really upset, what's most helpful, I think, is to learn how to disengage with connection. The quicker you can say, ah, I can't think of anything that is going to help us right now. And I want to because I care about you. So I'm going to go take some time and I'm going to check back in after dinner. If you can commit that to memory or get a hat that you write that on a hat, and when you're upset, you just turn the hat around and it says that, or something that can help you just disengage with connection, life gets better pretty quickly. A lot of people try to not only do it nonviolent communication, but do it in the heat of the moment. And that's like practicing, you know, karate with three people, kicking you at the same time or something. So, but AJ, I get this, right, I would say 50% of the time, and I still get triggered. I'm by no means perfect, but I do identify when I'm getting triggered faster. I do, my triggering is probably less intense, and the duration of my trigger is shorter. And that's what's happened over the years with practice. It's never that we get rid of this stuff. I mean, maybe there's you know, somebody, maybe Gandhi, I don't know, but to lower our expectations and increase our compassion. But that's what we want people to come on the show. This would be super fun. I love working with groups. I love working with, even if it's just a couple of people, and we role play. And we can role play so that it's not real, so they don't have to worry about throwing somebody under the bus or embarrassing themselves. We can make up scenarios, but it's so much more powerful watching it. And I talk about what's happening when it's in the when it's really in a role play versus me talking about it now. So I would love, AJ, if people, I don't know how if they email you or what, but if they're willing to be part of these exercises, there's lots of different tools and strategies and things that we could do together with people if they're interested. So
I
is there an email?
Yeah, help at chefaj.com.
Yeah, I would love it if people watching would be interested in practicing some of these skills and that's the way, we all struggle. Um, so if there's no time like the present to start trying to use these things. And it's all about having the courage to make a mess. And over time, you develop the skill to clean it up.
Yeah.
And when I first started NBC, oof, did I make a lot of messes.
Yeah. There's some people that don't mind criticism, especially if it's constructive, especially if it's given in a way that's not,
Yeah. Yeah. I think the word criticism is an evaluation and it can mean different things to different people. But if I say, AJ, AJ, if you said, Matt, I want to give you some feedback, Matt, in the spirit of trying to help you be more successful on this show. Would you be interested in hearing it? So you checked in with me, you told me the need behind why you're telling me, and then I have choice around saying yes or no. That spirit is going to be well received. On the other hand, if you're like, Matt, you really talk too much. And I'm like, whoa, I had no idea what was happening. I don't know why you're telling me. Is it to help me? Is it to make me feel bad and feel ashamed? Is it to make yourself feel better that you're a better host? I don't know. So, so AJ, it's not so much that the feedback is or criticism. I think it's how it's the package it comes in.
yeah, it's not sometimes what you say, but how you say it. That's why I'm really careful with people. Like if I have something and I'll say, do you want to know if they're, like
Yeah.
I'll even say, like, if there's like a situation or a problem in a relationship, do you want to know? And some people say, I'd rather not know. And some people say, yeah, I want to know.
Yeah, I love that about you, AJ. I remember when we first started, I don't know where we were, some some Whole Food store, and we were standing in front, and I think it was in Pasadena. And you said, Matt, um, you asked me, but then I think at one point you said that I said that being
Yeah,
said,
you used to say that being said a lot.
and you know how helpful that was.
Yeah.
And but people don't tell me, so I know that if I go to AJ, she's going to tell me.
I will, and the thing is sometimes even if people are really sensitive, like I have a friend and I'm trying to make her even better than she is at a public a speaker, and she says and a lot. And this has happened with two friends, and I always wonder. My husband Charles says, "Don't tell people that," but subconsciously, if you're listening to a speaker and every other word is or ah, you think, well, they're not really experts. And so, what I always tell people, listen, I watched your presentation. There was like 67 ums. I want you to watch it and count it. But I think still, even when it's constructive, sometimes it hurts people's feelings when they're
Yeah.
sensitive.
Well, here's another interesting thing that you can't hurt anybody's feelings. What hurts their feelings is when they believe what you're saying. So if you said to me, Matt, I think you're too short, and I'm like, well, I'm 6 feet tall. That doesn't make any sense to me. That won't bother me. But if you said something that I actually had some internal critic about, what's hurting my feelings is when the inner critic says, see, I told you so. And AJ believes it too. That's what hurts my feelings, not the fact that you said it. And if you said it with care and I heard criticism, that's because my inner critic is translating the gift that you just sent me. Now, sometimes you might say criticism because you're really angry and you're trying to, hit that person, and that's a need for empathy. You want them to feel some pain. That's sometimes this energy behind our remark. So it really depends not only on your energy, but what's going on in my system. And if I start to believe what you're saying, then I can. So when I say, AJ, you just hurt my feelings when you told me I said too much, and you're pretty confident that you were really trying to contribute, then you can just be curious about what's going on for me. And you can say, hey, Matt, sounds like there was something, when I said that, maybe you think that you're not a good speaker and that you're not performing and competent in speaking. Is that what's going on? Yeah, that's what you said. And you'll be like, well, no, that's not what I said. But you can see how you be curious and be like, well, of course you're going to be mad at me if you think that I said that you're not a competent speaker and that you're a terrible speaker. Of course you'd be mad and hurt. So now you can actually, instead of worrying that you hurt their feelings, you can be curious about what their inner critic is saying. And then you can have compassion and be like, yeah, of course you'd feel hurt. Would you like to know what's true for me? What's true for me is actually, I think that you have a lot of competent speaking, and I think this would just make it better.
Yeah.
So do you see how AJ, you don't get sucked in because that's the key is not getting sucked into their inner critic's world.
Mm. Like I have, there's somebody who comes on this show fairly regularly, and I love them as a guest, but they never let me talk. And it's not like I need to talk a lot, but sometimes like they don't let me finish the sentence and they talk over me, but because they're a
What are you
doctor.
saying? They talk over you? No, I'm kidding.
No, no, it's not you. I promise it's not you. But there's another person, and
Yeah.
because they're a doctor and I perceive them as higher status, I don't want to say anything. But I wonder. My problem is when I'm not that this is going to happen in this situation, but I found in life when something really bothers me for a long time and I don't say it, then it festers, and then when I do say it, I blow up.
Yeah. Yeah. Join the club. Join the
Yeah.
club.
Because we're
Me.
so busy pussyfooting around and walking on eggshells with people. And I like when I don't love criticism, but I do like if I'm doing something that bothers somebody, I would rather have them tell me than not tell me. And as a chef, it's real interesting because I don't really get my feelings hurt that much because I know with food it's so subjective. If somebody doesn't like something I make, it's not because it's not made well, it's because maybe you just don't like whatever the ingredient is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that issue of blowing up is a big one. In fact, actually, that's the next, I think it's next week, our Substack article is about how I almost got into a fight at the gym. And because I spoke up earlier, I avoided a blow up and um, actually created a really wonderful connection with this person. But those are the things where I was, it wasn't that I didn't start to escalate, but I was able to catch myself escalating. And that's what starts to happen as you practice these skills. It's not like you just turn into Gandhi all of a sudden and you don't even escalate or get upset, but you start to catch yourself. So AJ, the next time you catch yourself not speaking up, or oh, you can say to yourself, boy, if I don't speak up, I might blow up. So which is going to be more kind? Speaking up now with kindness or blowing up later with harshness?
Probably speaking up, but sometimes people are afraid.
Exactly. So then I'm not saying you have to speak up, but just notice like, oh, the reason I'm not speaking up is I'm a little bit afraid, and I'm hoping that maybe they'll just stop. And maybe they'll just stop what they're doing that's bothering me. So that's okay. But if you start to practice and learn the skill of how to speak up in a way that meets your need for kindness, and then if they react and say, oh, like, what are you afraid of, AJ, when you speak up? This is another thing that's really helpful.
Well,
What do you think could happen?
I'm afraid that either people will be mad, they get mad at me, or mainly that they'll yell at me, and that comes from a lot of childhood stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's helpful to have the dialogue with the inner child and be like, oh, there's adult AJ here, and I'm going to grab your hand and hold you as we speak up. And if they yell at us, I'm going to handle it. So now you've unblended from the child versus being blended with the child, and you make a little space. And you can say, I get why you're nervous, child, or little AJ, or whatever you want to call her. And let's see if we can show up in a way that's kind to them and that we can handle it if they get reactive. Because if they get reactive, they just didn't hear my gift.
Well, now it's, and I was just thinking about how now, like with things like Yelp and Google reviews, we can say all kinds of terrible
Yeah.
things about people and businesses, and we can do it anonymously too.
Yeah. It's even worse than ever. Because what I think is most important, AJ, when you're gonna let's talk about the doctor that doesn't wait for you to finish before they start talking.
Yeah. And I don't think they're aware they're doing it because I don't think they
Exactly.
watch the show, but it's like, I'm trying to get the question right. And then I feel like it would make a better show overall if there was more give and take. And not that I have the need to speak, but at least I just finish the sentence?
Yeah. So what's the gift there? What is the gift in saying that? And to me, there's a couple things. You want to make the show better.
Hmm.
You want just it meets your need for connection, probably to be able to finish what you're saying and for them to hear it versus just to start. If they're just talking and not hearing what you're saying, it doesn't feel like a mutual connection, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I think if you say some of the two of the gifts and you keep thinking, AJ, and really connect to the gifts. The one gift is I know we want to make this even more successful this episode. And two, it really allows me to connect to you better. I really want to connect to you. And it's hard if you start talking before I finish. Now, AJ, what I did there was I turned it into an observation instead of an evaluation. So if I say that they interrupt me, they could hear it. They could hear it with a little more criticism. So you see how I said you started talking before I finished,
Yeah.
which is what happened. And then but I would tell them, AJ, again, if you're, let's say you're the person, AJ, we could do a little role play right here just to show you. Okay. And you say, hey, Doc, I'm a little nervous about talking about something, but I want to bring it up for two reasons. One is because I think it's going to make our connection better and it's going to make it really enjoyable. And I don't think, but the other is the benefit of the doubt. I don't think that this is happening. And I think it'll make the show better. Are you interested in hearing this?
No, I'm really not.
Okay, well, then you have to be willing not to
I'm just
tell
kidding. I'm just
them.
saying that's a possible
That's
answer.
a
That's a
possibility. So
possible
that's
answer.
important. That's good that you said that because we have to be willing to be like, well, what is the yes behind the no? So don't take it as a rejection. They just said no. What I hear is, well, first I hear the no, because that's my condition. And I'll be like, oh, they're rejecting me. And then I translate that and I say, what's the yes behind the no? Which is often protection. When they talk about things, it feels so terrible and so shaming that they don't even want to have a conversation because it's going to be too shaming. So now I'm like, oh, that's why they don't want to talk about it because they're worried about the pain from shame. So you see how I'm always trying to catch whatever my disconnecting thoughts are and translate them into something that's more connecting.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, and the thing is, I was just thinking how I could broach this because part of the problem sometimes is, with Zoom, there is slight delays. And so you can't, it'd be different if it was an in-person thing. So I always give people the benefit of the doubt. But I was thinking of saying just to this person next time, it's like, hey, would you mind if I don't know if you can see me very well from where you are, but if you could just let me please finish the whole sentence before commenting, would that be okay? Like if you said
Yeah,
it like that, that could be like because if I start saying, hey, can I give you I mean, until you know the gift, it's going to be
right.
weird going up to, the dry cleaner and saying, hey, can I give you a gift?
Yeah, I don't recommend doing that. I don't recommend going up to the dry cleaner or even this guy and saying, I have a gift for you.
Right.
But I would, but I think the way you said it, you can see how that is. And
Yeah.
maybe they'll just shift and it'll be no problem. And then there might be people that continue to do it, and then you might have to have a deeper conversation. So I think the minimal amount of words to get your needs met, and then it might take a couple conversations. That's all.
Oh my God, you just reminded me of that old joke. Do you know that joke about the monastery? I gotta tell you.
No.
It's just so cute. The minimal amount of words to get your needs met. So there's this guy and he goes to a Tibetan monastery to be a monk. And of course they take a lot of vows, celibacy, silence, things like that. But every year they can see whoever is called the head monk or the head priest, and they're allowed to say two words. So the first year transpires and he goes to see the head monk, and his two words are bed hard. So he goes back for another year, I'll do whatever they do. And the second year he comes back, his two words are food bad. He goes and he does his third year, and then he comes back and his two words are I leave. And the head monk says, well, all you have done since you got here is complain. Isn't that cute?
I like
It's
that.
a cute joke, isn't it? Yeah. I think it's important, and and especially because we're learning. And guys, if you're not familiar with Dr. Matt, please subscribe to his Substack, and let's all subscribe to his YouTube channel. Is this whole thing about this nervous system, and in order to deliver, whether it's a gift or constructive criticism, you have to come from a place of not being, you know, escalating yourself because it doesn't work like you have to,
Right.
yeah, because once it's like once the toothpaste is out of the tube, all bets are off.
Yes, and that's why the first step is always, remember in the middle of our diagram with self, is to check inside what's going on in your system. And the most compassionate thing we can do is disengage with connection. Often in the moment, especially when you're learning, is how to disengage with connection. Hey, I'm all worked up here and I want to be able to have a conversation that's going to bring us closer together, and I can't right now. So I'm going to come back later and talk later. Um, it's a funny story. Marshall Rosenberg's, who's the creator of nonviolent communication, said that when he was first learning it and creating it, his kids would say, because the kid asked him a question or something, and the Marshall was taking forever to answer and thinking and trying to get it out and not get too reactive. And the kid said to Marshall, you know, it's taking you so long to talk, Dad. And Marshall looked at him and said, you know what I can say fast? Do it my way or I'm going to kick your ass. And the kid goes back and says, take your time, Dad, take your time. So I think that that to me is a perfect way to sort of leave this, which is it's going to take a little time. It's going to take a little time. We're trying to show up differently. And if you can just pause, you're already on your way to connection.
I love that. If you can learn to pause, you're on your way to connection. Very good.
Yeah.
Nice.
So people want this um, handout for the gift, which I would love. And it really fuels me if people try this and they tell me what works and didn't work. And if they ever come back and they run into trouble, I'm happy to do shows that way too, AJ, where they say, we tried this and this is where we got in trouble. Because when I work with people and I'm coaching couples or families, and what I tell them to do is try this. Here's your homework. Then come back, tell me what worked and what didn't work, and then we tweak it to help them understand and clarify. So go to if they go to connectiondocs.com/resources, you can get this PDF, try it out, and then definitely let us know. And they can email, it's help at
Help,
Shafe AJ?
like help at
Help at
chefaj.com. Yeah.
chefaj.com.
Yeah.
Help at chefaj.com. I love working with people in real life, so that'd be great.
Well, speaking of working with in real life, so I've been posting it in the chat on Instagram and YouTube. Anybody here want to come and work with Dr. Matt? You have to be able to turn your camera on, and it can even be two people. It can be like he's worked with Charles and I together. So if you have a conflict in a relationship, or just the other person technically doesn't need to be there, but it's good if they can. Obviously, if it's with your boss, probably maybe not. But please come on, guys, make let's do this. It'll be fun. So there is a question that came in from Janice about what we were talking about, and she says, how do you practice the gift with someone who isn't familiar with it or open to it? For example, how do I tell someone that they've hurt my feelings when I anticipate that they're going to lash out at me?
Yeah, good. So good question. So the first thing I want to remind everybody is that someone else doesn't hurt your feelings. Somebody else says something that stimulates often an inner critic in us that hurts our feelings. So if somebody says something that we don't believe, then it's not going to bother us. But so give me an example. I don't know if Janice has an example, but um, what would be an example, AJ, that we can use? Because I think that'll be better than talking about it. Unless Janice has one that she wants us to
Yeah,
use.
Janice, you want to put it in the chat again, and we'll ask. Okay, we'll see.
We'll see. But if I can take and I can talk to my inner critic and have compassion, then I can start to have compassion for the other person and what they're saying. I can't translate what they're saying, even if I heard it as criticism, until I deal with my inner critic. Marshall Rosenberg talks about giraffe language and jackal language, and we'll probably talk about this a fair bit. Giraffes have the largest heart of any land animal. So giraffe is language is coming from the heart. Jackal language is more coming from the head. There's a lot of moralistic evaluations, good, bad, right, wrong type of language. It's also very static, whereas giraffe language is more dynamic and present. So we can get into that more later. In fact, I even have puppets that are fun to do role plays with the puppets. I have a little giraffe puppet and a little jackal puppet.
That's hilarious.
So, but when if we hear something with we'll call it with our jackal ears are catching the message instead of our giraffe ears, that's when we're going to get our feelings hurt. So I don't know if Janice wrote anything, but
Yeah,
we can
okay. So she
say,
says she forgot to bring something that she was supposed to bring to a family member, and they rolled their eyes as if to say, "Ugh, you always forget. You always
yeah,
let me down."
keep going. Sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, sorry. That's okay. You always interrupt. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm kidding. You know that's not true. I'm trying to see if she'll come on right now, but
Okay.
yeah. So the family member rolled their eyes as if to say, "You always forget. You always let us down."
Okay, so that's great. So there's two things we got to do. There's some pain in them when they're saying and they're communicating with you always let us down. You always forget. And then I have pain inside me because I see them roll their eyes. These are the observations. I see them roll their eyes. I hear the words that they say. And then my own jackal inside of me is taking that in and saying, "Oh, you really do forget a lot. Oh, you're letting them down. These people are depending on you and you are letting them down." So when I get into that, when that happens, AJ, that's when I start to feel hurt. So I have to now connect to the jackal and empathize with the jackal inside me, which is, hey, jackal, I'm guessing that you really want us to be dependable, and you're feeling a little bit frustrated when I forget things, and if I forget something, and someone can't trust me and depend on me. Is that what's going on, jackal?
Oh,
And the
I'm bringing her on.
oh, you are okay.
Yeah. Okay. Right now. Okay. All right. Hello, Janice.
Oh,
You want to explain that one to the viewers, Janice?
That's okay. I'm doing daycare, so my husband just got home, so that's why I'm available to come on. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
But
Yeah,
can we tell them your real name?
yeah, it's Susanna.
Okay.
But I am yeah, that was my question because like everything about this gift technique totally appeals to me and like hits me right in my heart that this is like the right way and this is the way I've been with my own children and my own marriage. But my family of origin, both my parents are in their 80s. They're both shut-ins, and so I have to go over there a lot. They live 5 minutes away. I'm dropping off medical supplies, dropping off meals, and that kind of thing. And it's like literally everything I do is criticized. And
yeah,
so I want to be able to say, that really hurt my feelings or I'm trying to help and when you criticize me it puts me down and makes me not happy to be here, that kind of thing.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
so this is where my question came in was how do I use this technique with people that aren't understanding of the technique?
yeah. Yeah, well, one, I want to thank you for coming on and having the courage to come out here and share. Um, we're coming at this with love, not only for you, but for your family of origin. And the goal of this is never to point fingers or say that anybody's doing anything wrong. Your family of origin is saying things because they're trying to get their needs met and they're in pain. The problem is they're saying it in a way that not only stimulates pain for you, but is less likely to get their needs met,
Mhm.
which is they just want you to care. In this example where you said that that you forget things, because you said they're always criticizing, that's a bigger, I would respond to that. Let's use this specific example just for illustration purposes. If they say you're always forgetting things and dropping the ball, there was something that they wanted to happen that didn't happen. And they were depending and trusting that that was going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, they feel disappointed and they don't know how to express their disappointment without it coming out like an attack on you. And then on top of that, when they do say it, like you're always forgetting something, and then some family of origin can say, your brother or your sister never forget, and it's like, then they really know how to lay it on, right? You just your inner critic is like and your jackal, your inner jackal is like, oh gosh, you screwed up again. You dropped the ball again. Why are you always dropping the ball? And that's how but that jackal is just in pain too, trying to get its needs met. So before we can have empathy for them and hear them, we first have empathy for ourselves and say, hey, jackal, I get it. You value, and I'm connecting to their feelings and needs, the jackal's feelings and needs. Yeah, you value dependability and trust and follow through when you say something. And when you don't follow through with something you said, you feel disappointed and sad because you really value that. You want to be dependable. So now you actually can connect to the jackal that's upset, but not in a way that's saying you're this terrible person. You forgot something, or you dropped a ball, or whatever happened. And then once you've given yourself enough empathy and your inner jackal empathy, then you can connect to them. And you can say, hey, mom, dad, brother, sister, I'm hearing that when I don't follow through with something I said, or I drop this ball, that's really upsetting to you. You really were trusting that that was going to happen and it didn't. I bet that's pretty disappointing, huh? And they'll say, yeah. And you say, yeah, well, I'm glad you told me. And then after they do that, then you can say, and you know what helps me, mom, dad, brother, sister? If you say it like this, I don't feel as much shame because I care about what you just said. Like I value trust too. I value dependability too, mom, dad, brother, sister. But if you say it like this, it helps me hear it without feeling so much pain on the inside. So would you be willing? And then you could do that. So you don't, but depending on the relationship, you would say more or less. So you might just say, give them empathy, but they can't hear your pain as a result.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't go to them for empathy for your pain, but at least that's how you can respond and stay connected versus either shut down or attack back. That's usually what happens. We shut down and internalize it, or eventually we attack back. And
Right.
neither of those are probably aligned with your values. You probably don't want to shut down or attack back.
No, but I definitely shut down.
Shut
I
down.
definitely shut down. And like the thing that really bothers me, just to pick up on yesterday's example, I got a text, hey, our medical supplies are in sometime. Can you pick them up? I picked them up. Proper bag had everything. I made a decision to also stop at the grocery store and get them a meal. That was not part of the request. Okay, so I grabbed like little deli salads and I forgot the dressing. So it wasn't even something that
Yeah.
they needed.
Yeah.
But I got the eye roll just like always. Like it's a lifelong
Yeah.
thing. So it's
Yeah.
it's not a just yesterday incident. But like I just wouldn't know how to begin to like would it almost be embarrassing for them if I said what you said about, I'm really sorry that I let you down for not bringing the dressing, like in a
No,
way that they could learn from that?
I'm very careful with my words, so I never say that I would let you down.
Mm,
So you'll see as I pick my language, it's really about my feelings and my needs, or I'm empathizing with their feelings and their needs. So if I go out of my way to help them, and even the language that you use, like I got the right bag, you're trying so hard to make them happy and to avoid their disappointment, and they show it freely,
hmm.
which, and that's painful for you. So
Very.
the opportunity for you is to be able to connect to the beautiful needs that they're trying to communicate with an eye roll. Now, my kids give me a lot of practice with that too. So they'll they'll roll their eyes and I'll be like, when you rolled, like I'll start talking, they'll be like, so when you rolled your eyes, I'm guessing that I'm talking more than you're enjoying. And they'll be like, yeah, Dad. And I'll be like, well, thank you for letting me know. Because I don't want to talk and bore you, but this is important to me. So can we find a time when you do feel like you have capacity to talk? So you start to be able to name it without attacking them back. But yes, if you said I let you down and you hurt my feelings when you rolled your eyes, that's going to land as an attack. But if you say to them, hey, mom and dad, when I got the sandwich for you, I forgot the dressing, and I bet you really enjoy your sandwiches with dressing. And when you don't have the dressing, the sandwich is only you don't like it as much. It's not as enjoyable. Is that what's going on?
Hmm.
And they'll say, yeah. And I'll be like, so I don't, but I'm not going to ask them for empathy if I don't think they can give it to me. It's like going to a hardware store for milk. So what I would love in an ideal world is to be able to say, and mom and dad, when you roll your eyes, I feel really really sad because I have an inner critic in my head that then tells me I really let you down and I'm trying so hard.
Mhm.
In fact, I went out of my way to get the sandwich and I really wanted gratitude just for thinking of you and thinking about the sandwich.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but do you see how we're always clear in NVC whose needs are on the table?
Mm.
Am I trying to get empathy for my needs or am I trying to give them empathy for theirs? And I'm also very clear, can that person give me empathy? Maybe not. If not, I'm going to give empathy to myself or I'm going to go to someone else who can give me empathy.
Mm.
So I might go to you might go to your partner and say, hey, can you give me a little empathy? I just tried to go do an extra special something nice and I forgot the dressing and I saw an eye roll, which was communicating their disappointment about the lack of dressing. But at the same time, I didn't get the gratitude that I would like for even trying. So
Right.
can you get, and then you make a request from your partner about how they can meet your need for empathy, which is, can you just say back what you imagine I'm feeling when that happens? And then now they're clear how to support you versus attack your parents. Because they might be like, yeah, your parents are da, 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 and you don't want that. You
Hmm.
want empathy. You don't want them to join you in upset or join your jackals. So that's where NVC is really powerful because it tells that your partner how to support you as well.
Yes. This is so incredibly helpful. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, thank you for.
So Susanna, you know I was talking about you. Did I hurt your feelings when I said that to you? The thing that I said?
No, no, because you asked me if I wanted feedback and I said yes, but I don't know how honest you want me to be right here, right
Oh,
now.
no, go ahead. No, I'd
Okay.
like you to be. But see, that's because we're trying to learn, you know?
I know I am too. And so what it is that is hard for me is the constant feedback about it. So the one time I was open to the feedback and received it and actually went back and reviewed the session that I had done and watched it with my husband, got his feedback as well, and noticed that, yeah, actually I did have a lot of ums and ahs, but I did also realize it's the first cooking demo I've ever done by myself and felt quite pressed for time and sort of out of my element. And so, what I am finding hard right now to deal with that is that it keeps coming
Oh,
up.
because you never got back to me. That's
So hold on, I'm going to help now. I'm
okay.
going to
Okay,
help.
Uh-oh.
Is it okay? Is it okay that I get
Yes,
involved here?
please,
please.
please.
So AJ, your job now is to stay with Susanna's heart.
Okay.
So you tell back, what did you hear? The gist. Exactly. What did you hear
So what
was
I heard
the
her
part.
say is it didn't hurt her feelings, but the follow-up was too annoying. That's what I heard.
Now check back in. Susanna, is that what you wanted AJ to hear?
Um, no, it wasn't that it was annoying. It was that it kept hurting.
Oh, so
it
I
it felt hurtful then, like the first time when you asked me if I wanted feedback on my session and you said you were lovely. You said it was so good, your content was outstanding. However, here's the feedback, right? And the ums and ahs. And so I took that and I received the feedback. I thought, well, went back, reviewed it, and now it's come up a number of times, and so that feels like little stabs,
oh I
little
So
apo- I I
now don't apologize yet. Don't
oh
apologize yet.
oh yeah, this is so hard when
It's
it's real
so hard
people.
because you want to make it better. Don't do that. What's healing to Susanna is to say back again, what are you hearing? Tell her you really make her get a sense that you really get her. What's her
No, I
pain?
hear you say that it was hurtful because I brought it up more than the one time when I asked for your feedback.
Yes, repeatedly.
Well, I only
Yes.
know. Oh, okay,
Oh, see, now you're trying to be seen. This is hard. So AJ now needs a little empathy.
oh,
But wait a second, I want to be seen differently. I didn't say it
well,
repeatedly.
it
Like that's
depends
every
what
3 seconds.
I mean. How many times is repeatedly? Because I only
But
remember do.
hold on. This is good. This is good. So now, AJ, are you okay though? If I have you keep holding, hold the
No,
tension, hold the
no,
tension.
it's fine. It's fine. It's really fine.
Okay. So Susanna, basically, when you agreed to hear feedback, that was helpful. But when there was more than one piece of feedback after you agreed without checking if you wanted more, that now stimulated some pain instead of help.
I agree. Yeah, that's pretty much nails it. Yeah.
So now do you see how I made it easier for AJ to hear you because I didn't say repeatedly, because repeatedly she's going to argue, well, or you say always, those terms will make it more disconnecting versus when I said, AJ, when you gave feedback after and didn't check if she wanted more, that's what stimulates a little pain.
I get it, but so how would I have been able to ask her? Because what I did is I asked her if she could listen to it and count. How would I have able to follow up on that? Would I just say then, would you want feedback for a follow? This
I
is
would ask her, I would say, hey, how was that feedback? And she would say that was great. Then you would say, hey, I actually have an idea of what I think could help you. Do you want to hear that idea too? Or is this as much as you can take? Because AJ, even if the feedback is done really kindly, people's systems can be pretty sensitive. And just getting one piece of feedback is as much as the system can handle. So you want to check, can your system handle one more good idea that you think is really going to contribute? And that's what AJ, Susanna, that's what AJ wants. Her need is to be, when she starts to explain herself, or not just AJ, anybody, when they feel they want to be seen for their good intentions, or they want to be seen with a shared reality. Like, I thought I just did it once or twice, and you said repeatedly. So that's where she's going to jump in. But
Mhm.
ultimately, AJ, you just want Susanna to see that you were just trying to help and you thought this idea would really help her, right?
well, I thought I did, and this is the problem because I don't mean with Susanna, but Charles and I, do vegan business coaching, and it's so hard because we're trying to help people grow their
Yeah,
business, and sometimes you do have to give them feedback if
yeah.
they want to make them better.
Yeah, so the then you come and you keep the connection here going. You say, AJ, you say to Susanna, I really appreciate that you brought this up because if she didn't feel comfortable, AJ, you would never have known that you stimulated pain and you couldn't help. One, you can very easily help Susanna's heart heal by doing what you just did.
Hmm.
You can bring yourselves closer together as a result. And now you know in the future how to give feedback in a way that helps her enjoy it even more. So you can say, Susanna, thank you so much. And then you can check, Susanna, do you see my good intentions, even though in hindsight I could have done it differently? So let's check with Susanna. Do you see that, Susanna?
I totally do. And I think I always did,
Yeah.
but I feel like I feel like I had to do the work to go, no, she did say that it was good. Oh, she did say
Mhm.
It was
my content,
amazing. It was like
right,
it was sort of like
Hold on, let her finish. Go ahead, Susanna.
but you see, linking back to my original Janice question, I grew up in a very critical,
Yeah,
negative family. I'm almost 59 years old and I'm still getting beaten down by this stuff.
yeah,
So that's got to come into play somehow in
of
my
course.
life with the people that I interact with, right? That I don't believe that AJ intended this as a mean cut her down kind of thing. I do believe it was absolutely genuine and trying to help me get better at what I'm trying to share this message with other people.
Yeah,
But
and that, Susanna, is that both can be true.
mhm,
You can know that AJ's got good intentions and trying to contribute, and it stimulated pain. It's not one or the other. And now you can say, AJ, I know the gift is, AJ, I know you have good intentions and it stimulated a little pain. And you actually now, Susanna, you shared accountability that your system might need to be supported differently than the way AJ might be used to doing it. So if AJ's willing, she could contribute to you in this way by supporting your system, the way, in a way that gives feedback and checks report each feedback, let's say. But
right.
the point is, do you see how now you're coming together? And if you didn't feel safe to bring it up, you would have had to hold this alone, Susanna. AJ wouldn't have known. And now, AJ, if you gave her time to talk to her and heal her, give her a heart hug, basically. Let's check how Susanna feels now that you gave her a heart hug and heard her. How do you feel, Susanna?
I feel unburdened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know.
That's so much more powerful, AJ, than explaining yourself or apologizing. In fact, when we explain ourselves or apologize, it's for us because we're uncomfortable or we think that's the right thing to do. But if our goal is to connect and support the other person, then spending time with their pain is actually the most helpful usually. So how is that for you, AJ? And is there any needs of yours still unmet? Like, do you want something to be seen differently at all?
Well, not my needs with Susanna, but it makes me realize how precarious, how like you have people are sensitive based on their past,
Yeah.
and you don't always know like if somebody had trauma or a painful childhood, and it makes me scared to like say anything to anybody.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. So you're like you so care about people. And if you say something with good intention and it stimulates pain, that's the last thing you want to do. So your protectors come on and say, just don't say anything. You don't want to risk hurting people.
Right. But then I don't mean in the case with Susanna, but with some of these other things where people are
Yeah.
really, what Susanna did not do anything to annoy me, but when people do that and then I let it go for too long, then it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
then the fists come out.
yeah,
But
no, exactly. This is so
so
hard. I mean, this is harder than just eating a healthy diet.
right, but this is the stuff that brings us closer together. This peaceful feeling that Susanna feels in her body, the connection that happens just from this healing here, helps all of those impulses that affect what she eats and what she does and everything else. It'll affect how she shows up with the rest of her family. It's this ripple effect of connection and love that goes out into your system and all the other people's systems that you touch. So AJ, it's hard, but it's such a beautiful thing. And AJ, if you're nervous, then just share that. So if you're like, hey, there's a part of me that doesn't want to give any feedback because sometimes I give it or I give too much. So you tell them and you say, hey, if I ever give you any feedback and it feels anything other than helpful, I need you to tell me so that I can do it differently and that I can clean that up. Don't withhold feedback because I think Susanna found it helpful. And even though you stimulated pain, it probably is helping Susanna heal around that trauma a little bit that you were able to hear that pain. It wasn't preventing the pain, actually hearing her pain differently is probably helpful to Susanna too. So it's very much, it contributes as long as you can hear pain and people like Susanna have the courage to speak up honestly and authentically.
Mm. So we have on Instagram, someone is saying Susanna has the internal gift of self-awareness.
Yes.
And
Yes.
somebody's saying, why asking her to count? The reason is it's a technique that we're taught in Toastmasters, and she's a public speaker now, and they ask us to do that so that we can then be aware that we're doing it, and next time do it less. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Adrian.
Oh my
Well,
goodness.
I want to check in, AJ. I'm not convinced that your system is fully at peace. So check in, do a little check in,
Well,
and
it's
just
it's
see
hard.
what's
It's
going
hard
on.
because like I'm doing a few things, hosting, looking at the chat,
Yeah.
being put on the spot because a part of me is like, but I only was just asking if she did it. Like I wasn't trying to re-criticize her. You know what I mean? I was just trying to see what
Perfect.
she discovered from it. But and so
Yeah.
maybe I didn't ask correctly. I got to figure
Yes.
that out.
So hold on a second. So do you see, Susanna, what I did there was I still had a sense that she wasn't full. There was still more. She had a little bit of pain that we just have to take turns tending to each other's pain.
Oh, why
So
can't we just avoid it entirely?
yeah, avoid it because that works well. That works well.
Yeah,
The but now, Susanna, you go back and just say, oh, it sounds like AJ just wants you to see that she brought it up again. It was just checking, almost like a coach checking to see if you did it and how to go.
Yes.
And
And
it
that,
wasn't to hit you hard again.
no, and that totally changes it.
Yeah.
AJ, I need you to know that totally changes that. And I need to take your face in my hands and tell you that I love you.
oh, I love you too. Oh my
I
God.
need you to know that.
Well,
Yeah.
now from
Okay?
now on, me and Susanna, if we have something to say to each other, we'll just say, "Hey, I have a gift for you.
In
That's
fact,
right.
yes,
That's
Would
yes.
you
right.
like it?"
Oh
Yes.
my God. That means my work here is done, AJ.
No, but it's so hard because Charles isn't here right now, but he's one of the most sensitive creatures in the world, and it's like, oh gosh, talk about eye roll. I'm rolling my eyes all the time, and he can even feel it when he's not looking at me.
Well,
He hates
it's a beautiful work, and all we have to do is just keep checking into our hearts and caring about the other person's heart, and we're going to get there. And if we just have that lead us and not let our heads tell us, don't do this, that's right, that's wrong, this is good, you're going to screw it up. Lead from the heart, you're going to go in the right direction. So I really appreciate you, Susanna, for doing this. And it's so much more engaging and fun when somebody comes on like this and we can work with something real.
Mhm.
So you really contributed to me too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susanna.
Thank you.
And
I,
look at the sign behind her. Be kind always. Figures, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I like it.
Oh my gosh. So come on, guys, have some moxie, gumption. Come on the show and let's do the work.
it's
Let's do the
really
work.
helpful. It's really helpful to personally experience this and have you right there, Dr. Matt, with my actual two situations and to be able to talk it through and to have you guide exactly like, okay, just veer this way a little bit. That really helped me a lot. So thank you.
Good.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
thank you for coming on, Janice, Susanna. I
Oh, you're
appreciate
welcome.
it so much. You know, Dr. Matt, maybe because we talked about how, especially people that are wanting to lose weight that have struggled and lost and gained, that it would be great for you to be doing this with them so that they can see that there is some deeper work at play so that they stop beating themselves up
Yeah.
when they
Yeah.
fall off the wagon. Yeah.
And people, when they fall off the wagon or have tried so many diets and they feel like they failed, their inner jackals are quite loud. So they need a lot of empathy. And what happens is instead of giving empathy to their jackals, they're trying to do things externally and do all this other stuff. The diet, fix this, stop this. And it doesn't give them the healing that their body really wants and craves. So, and it's helpful, Susanna, that you pointed that out because in real time, to get a little bit of, all of that nuance is hard. And then even if I talk about it, it's not going to land and make sense the same way as when you're in it in the middle of it and I'm talking about it. So thank you for pointing that out because I find that too, that teaching in this way is so much more effective than talking about it and then trying to do it at home later.
Mhm.
That's why we need guests to come on because otherwise it's just me and that's kind of boring. So come on, help at chefaj.com. If you knew how much it was cost to work with Dr. Matt, you would jump at the chance. I think people are afraid to be vulnerable though.
Yeah,
I
it's
have to
scary.
say, from being here, though, it literally feels like it's the three of us. I know that this is going out there, but honestly, when I was in the middle of the emotional feelings, it was only the three of us.
Yeah,
I just wanted to reassure people on
Yeah.
that.
yeah. Well, thank
Well,
you.
thank you for doing this because maybe it'll set the stage for some of the people, even if not on the general viewing audience from our community to come on and do it because
Yeah,
you paved the way by being brave.
thank you. Wonderful.
Thanks,
All
Suzanne.
right.
Well, I think this is a perfect ending, don't you, Doctor?
Yeah. I do. And let's just see. So Susanna, if you had to describe how you're feeling right now, because NVC is very much about the present. How do we feel in this moment? And
I feel like burden off my shoulders.
uh, yeah,
Even maybe that I didn't know was there. I
mm,
just feel a little lighter emotionally.
yeah.
I'm
And
carrying a lot
that,
right now.
say that again.
I'm carrying a lot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that burden that you said is you didn't even necessarily know it was all there.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that I was trying to talk about in the beginning that has us opening the fridge, picking up these foods, saying things that we don't want to say, doing things that we don't want to do. So
Yeah.
we start to lighten that burden. All of a sudden, we stop doing some of these things. That's the power. So I love it's almost like I'm scripting for you to say these things, and it's perfect timing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
AJ, thank you, by the way, for jumping in, and you're always willing to be real.
Pretty
And
much, but it
it's,
is hard sometimes. But
yeah.
you know, I wish sometimes like I don't know if you feel this way, Susanna, but sometimes when people hurt my feelings, like it's a delayed response.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so I can't even tell them in the moment because it's sometimes either it's shock or you leave the place and then like you process it and go, wow, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, from childhood, I don't know about you, AJ, but for me, like I just learned to shut down. I just learned to bear it and
Mhm.
and take it, I guess. And so that's why there is sometimes a delayed reaction. Or like I'll tell my husband and he'll be like, "What? They said what?" And you didn't even realize it in the moment.
Hmm.
Yeah, because you don't say the name, Dr. Matt, but remember the doctor that said it's too late? Like it devastated me, but like I was like literally in shock, you know? And I
Yeah.
took like 12 hours for me to think about it, and then I said something, you know?
Yeah. And that's okay. We can always come back later. But shutting down is one of the ways that we deal with threat. If we think it's just too dangerous, or we've been conditioned as kids to shut down when these feelings get stimulated, that's okay. Let's not be harsh on ourselves. We can always come back and circle back later. And sometimes it's actually easier because you've had time to give yourself empathy, and then you can give empathy to the other person, and the connection goes better. So shutdown is it makes sense. And sometimes I think people talk about shutdown like it's almost like a defect or something wrong, or you shouldn't shut down. And just to have compassion when that happens.
Absolutely, because that's what the world needs now is not just love, but empathy.
Hmm. Yes,
Oh,
when people need empathy the most, they're usually talking in a way that's going to be the least likely to get them that empathy.
yeah, that when
So
they need it the most, they're usually doing something that pisses you off that you have a hard time giving them empathy.
exactly. They are unlikely to get it the way they're talking.
Oh,
So when someone's really angry or really upset or really rolling their eyes, that's when they need it, but they're doing it in a way that just doesn't help. So anyway, well, I have to run, AJ, but this
me
was this
too.
was great.
And I'm sure Susanna three. So thanks all of you, both of you, and thanks everyone for watching another episode of Chef AJ and Friends. Come back next Thursday at the same time for another episode of Keeping It Real with Dr. Matt. And come back tomorrow at 2 p.m. when we are going to be meeting with Nan Simonson on her 75th birthday, who has now written her second book, Aging Powerfully: The Journey Continues. Take care, everyone, and have empathy. Bye-bye.